I only bought food for myself. My roommate Kevin had been living with me for 8 months when I found out he'd been stealing my food. Not just like grabbing my leftover pizza once in a while, but actually taking my groceries and eating them before I even got home from work. I'd buy a whole week's worth of groceries on Sunday, and by Wednesday, half of it would be gone. At first, I thought maybe I was just eating more than I realized. But then I started noticing specific things missing. Like I'd buy these really expensive Greek yogurts that I loved for breakfast, and they'd vanish overnight. Or I'd get home excited to make this pasta dish I'd been craving all day, only to find out the sauce I bought was already opened and half empty. Kevin always had some excuse. Oh, I thought that was from last week. Or I was so hungry and didn't have time to go shopping. He'd promised to replace stuff but never did. Meanwhile, his side of the fridge was always empty except for some old condiments and expired milk. The breaking point was when I bought ingredients for my mom's birthday dinner. I was planning to cook her favorite meal when she visited that weekend. I spent like $60 on this really nice salmon and all these fresh vegetables. I even bought this fancy olive oil I'd been wanting to try. I came home Friday night ready to prep everything, and Kevin was at the stove cooking my salmon. He had the audacity to wave at me with the spatula and say, "Hey, hope you don't mind I borrowed some fish." There were vegetable scraps all over the counter from my vegetables. I completely lost it. I told him he'd been stealing my food for months and now he'd ruined my mom's birthday dinner. He just shrugged and said I was being dramatic, that roommates share food all the time. Then he had the nerve to offer me some of the salmon he was cooking like he was doing me a favor. That's when I decided I was done being the nice guy. I told Kevin I'd be doing my own grocery shopping from now on and keeping my food separate. He rolled his eyes and said, "Whatever makes you happy." The next day I went shopping and bought only enough food for myself. I got a mini fridge for my room and moved all my stuff there. I also bought this little metal box with a lock for my pantry items and put it in my room too. Kevin didn't seem to care at first. He kept eating his usual diet of ramen and frozen burritos, but after about a week, I noticed he was getting cranky. He'd stand in front of the open fridge for like 5 minutes just staring at his sad collection of expired yogurt and some leftover Chinese takeout. Then he started dropping hints. He'd mention how good my sandwiches smelled when I made lunch, or he'd suddenly be really interested in what I was cooking for dinner. I just ignored him and ate my meals while he microwaved another burrito. Things got really pathetic when he started trying to guilt trip me. He'd complain about being broke and how expensive groceries were. One time he said his stomach was hurting because all he'd eaten that day was cereal with water because we were out of milk. I reminded him that I never bought milk for both of us. He just used to steal mine. The funniest part was when his girlfriend Emma came over. She opened our fridge looking for something to drink and was like, "Kevin, why is your fridge so empty?" Kevin got all embarrassed and mumbled something about needing to go shopping. Then Emma noticed my mini fridge in my room when she used the bathroom and asked why we had 2 fridges. Kevin tried to play it off like it was no big deal, but Emma wasn't stupid. She figured out pretty quickly that I'd stopped sharing food with him. Later I heard them arguing in his room about how he needed to grow up and buy his own groceries like an adult. After about 3 weeks of this, Kevin finally broke down and asked if we could go back to how things were before. He promised he'd pay me back for all the food he'd taken and would ask before eating anything of mine. I told him absolutely not. I said he'd had 8 months to act like a decent roommate, and he chose to steal from me instead. Eventually, Kevin started buying more groceries for himself, though he still complained constantly about the cost.